Hello YouTubers and welcome to another review at the end of a year. I really actually enjoy making these videos because it gives me the opportunity to look back at what I've done over the year, and sometimes it can be really easy to sit and think, actually I've not done too much this year, but then when you actually look back, whether it's through your camera roll or for me looking back at all the videos that I've made, it can really sort of remind you of the things that you've done and really say, okay, you change a little bit of your perspective to set you up for, give you a little bit of a positivity boost for where you are going next. And it doesn't have to mean that you're looking through your camera roll and you've done massive things. It could just mean that you're looking through and you're thinking, oh, I forgot about that, and it puts a smile on your face, and then you get going for the new year. So starting off 2021, actually ended up doing a 60-minute British rowing record on the rowing machine. So starting off the year pretty strong, and then pretty much for the first few months of the year I was exclusively on the rowing machine because a lot of the water in Scotland was frozen because we went through quite a cold snap, and it meant that all of the training was on land, which it was a really interesting period of time because at the end of 2020 I was being really tentative in my training because I had just been ill and I didn't want to be ill again. So it meant that the training was being done, but maybe more on the ticking a box rather than really hitting hard. And so I've ended up with COVID at the end of 2021. And so, yes, potentially I could fall into the same almost trap of where I'm really tentative on the training, and so not getting the full benefit of the training to progress how I want to progress. But of course, you obviously want to make sure you aren't pushing too hard and end up blowing anyway. So the beginning of 2022 is going to be quite interesting on how I approach the training. So it's going to be a fine line between getting back to what I was doing before COVID and making sure I'm not doing too much to put myself back into a vulnerable position and end up ill again from something else. But again, lots of land training, 5k prep, 2k prep. Rowing machine workouts were done at the start of the year, and it was also a real sort of downer because a lot of what I knew I had to improve on was on the water. My confidence on the water, my technique on the water was where I knew I had to get better to get faster, or at least get more sort of bang for my buck, because I knew my fitness level, yes, I could improve it, but I was being held back by my technique because I was so new to the single scull, to the Lamborghini name yet to be determined. So after rowing through some lovely ice at the end of February, heading into the beginning of March, we were able to finally get on the water and work on the technique, work on the confidence, and get faster and faster and back to where I was feeling like I was at the end of 2020. So it took me quite a while to actually get there, heading into sort of March, April time, into the trials, to get back to where I felt I was at the end of 2020, just because that little bit of illness and a little bit of a knock to my confidence. And obviously, all the way through all of these videos, all the way through all of these workouts, working on the technique, working on training, I was also working on the Yambulance behind the scenes to make sure it was ready, to make sure I could use it through the year how I wanted to use it. And I forgot all about this before actually looking back through these videos. This year has been the first year where I've had the Yambulance and I've been able to actually use it for its intended purpose of sort of almost like a training utensil. So this year, after I was finished it, I was able to do little adventures, go to different locks, train on different locks, go and do different things that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do if I didn't have the Yambulance, and go out and just have a little bit of variation, because remember, variation is one of the keys to motivation as we headed into the sort of brunt of the racing season in sort of March, February, April time. So we went through trials last year, which were really interesting. My first trials to do in the single scull, in the Lamborghini name yet to be determined. And what I wanted to do with the races last year was not really so much focus on the result as to focus on the outcome. So I came second at the second trials, and I think I won the B final, so 7th at the first trial. And I wanted to come away from the racing thinking either I know how to improve, or finishing the race thinking I couldn't have went much faster. And I think every race I did last year, I finished thinking one of those two things. So I was really happy with how I raced last year. Heading into Henley Royal Regatta, we had the qualifiers where I used what I was trying to learn throughout the year about time trials, and I think that was the best time trial I've ever done. So using that experience as I go forward to any other time trials I might have to do, and hopefully set me up for the future of time trialing in the single scull. And then leading into Henley Royal Regatta, which was an eye-opener for me, more of a case of, okay, you've got a lot further to go than you may have thought in the single. You may have thought that you could just get a little bit fitter, improve the technique a little bit, but I was mistaken. There's a bigger gap than I thought, but not an impossible gap to traverse. So then, that was the season of racing finished. So I really enjoyed the first season of racing in the Lamborghini name yet to be determined in a single scull, and then had a lovely time away, whether it was down in Cambridge doing a little rowing camp and coaching, and again getting a little bit of a different perspective, or just taking a step back from the videos and having little adventures, whether it was in the ambulance or whether it was just completely separate and just doing something a bit different. Then we came back to Strathclyde Park and did a lot more rowing on the park, and as well changing clubs. So started off the year doing things a lot differently, as well as letting you guys know that I wouldn't be doing British Rowing Trials this year. So it was quite an abrupt start to the year, obviously starting off the year in the videos with rowing the length of Loch Ness, which again, an opportunity that probably wouldn't have been able to do if I was doing British Rowing Trials, and giving me that little bit of variation to just help with the motivation, especially as I really try to improve my confidence in the single. So moving clubs just across the boat bays and not doing British Rowing Trials. So changing the videos as well as changing the approach to training a little bit. So I was doing races that I wouldn't have been doing if I was doing trials. So on the Clyde in Aberdeen, different things like that, where I would normally be doing trials or preparing for trials. But this year, it was more of go out there and try and see what you can do on different bodies of water that may not put you in a comfortable place, but hopefully improve you that little bit quicker in the single scull. But it seemed most of the races ended up in some sort of collision. Not really sure if that's some sort of thing that I should be watching for in the future, but that's for future Yamsquad to look forward to, so make sure you are subscribed for that. And obviously, as we headed into the end of 2021, we had the Can You Train Like a Full-Time Rower series with Adam from Magic Mountain, and that was an amazing opportunity to be able to train with someone not directly, so apart, but doing the same training, and even just bouncing back and forward between each other during the day, little bits of positivity at each other, chatting on the group chat, or just even the chats at the end of the day every day was a really good experience. And hopefully this next year we can get more people seeing if they can handle the full-time rower training program. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions or know anybody that would be keen to take part. And as well, throughout there we have some lovely racing again that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. Racing in a quad, racing in a 4, racing in the single at Inverness Head. Inverness Head, that's the first time I've ever done that, and that was absolutely fantastic. We had some great weather, absolutely freezing, but it was a lot of fun. And getting out in a sweet boat as well. So that was the first time I was racing in a sweet boat for a long time, as well as actually being in a sweet boat at all with Matthew and a pair late last year. It just let me know that sculling and sweeping aren't too drastically different, but if you know how to scull and sweep, you don't generally forget as easy as I maybe thought I would. So that's really good. And then we head into the end of 2021, like I've already mentioned, ended up with COVID, so not the ideal finish to the year, and I had the 5k just at the end of December, and I was nailing training before that. I was prepped to go faster than that 5k time that I did, so disappointed with the result overall, but when I tested positive for COVID not long after that test, it kind of made a bit more sense, because I was looking at the data, I was looking at my prep data as well, and I was seeing my heart rate spikes were all over the shop for the 5K itself versus in the prep, where my heart rate was so much lower, the splits were so much faster. But that's kind of a learning experience to know maybe it's best not to have done that 5K when I did see the heart rate not quite acting right, and I should have taken a step back and adjusted the program, whereas maybe it wasn't the best thing to do a flat out 5K and almost see maximum heart rate, but maybe it was good to do and have a little bit of that mental battle. So that is the end of the 2021 review. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, going through last year with me, whether you're watching the videos then or you're just catching up now. I really appreciate it, and again, it's given me the opportunity today to go through the videos and remind myself of the good things that I've done. So let me know in the comments below of the good things that you've done this year, whether it's a PB on the erg, whether it's a PB running, whether it's something else on the water or not rowing related at all. I'm sure you've all done something that's worth celebrating. So that will be it for the end of 2021, and happy new year to everyone for 2022. I hope it brings some positivity to you, whether it is on the rowing machine, whether it's on the water, or not even training related at all. I wish you all the best of luck, Yamsquad. Let's see what we can do together this year. 2022 is going to be an interesting one. We've got some plans that are, again, going to be very different to what I've been doing in a previous year, pretty much because previous years I've been doing trials, again, where this year I am not doing trials. So looking for other opportunities that I wouldn't necessarily be able to have done before. But that is for future Yamsquad to look forward to. As always, remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will see you in the next episode in 2022. Have a good one.